The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941, here dramatically shot by Japanese film crews for propaganda purposes, not only crippled America's Pacific fleet, it changed the course of history. Just the day before the raid, President Roosevelt had personally appealed to Emperor Hirohito not to drag their two countries into war. But it was too late. Japan had formed a secret pact with Germany to attack the Allied forces in Europe and in the Far East. America at that stage was neutral, but generally sympathetic to the Allied cause. This was an attempt to destroy American military power in the Pacific before she could strike back. After this massive attack, Europe's war became America's.
After the Japanese attacked the Pearl Harbor, the American government gave out an order to relocate Japanese Americans all over America to the evacuation camp. This is because the American government questioned their loyalty to America after the Japanese betrayed them.
In the exposition, she was subjected to social alienation because of her bold appearance and strange behavior different from the others in the camp. In the first paragraph, she was described as a decorative ingredient, wearing arrestingly rich color and garnering unwanted attention from the society due to her appearance and status as a ballet dancer. This argument is made from hasty generalization, assuming that all ballet dancers are temperamental. Ooh, that girl is really temperamental. I guess it's because she was a ballet dancer before she got stuck in a camp. I heard people like that are temperamental. The justification was made merely on rumors and gossips, which indicate that there was no factual evidence supporting these claims. Miss Sasagawara was entitled to more social exclusion when she was misunderstood by Elsie during a brief encounter in front of her apartment. When she was trying to break the social barrier to befriend them, she was played by Elsie's quick refusal to interact with her. Through this text, the author was trying to conjure up the element of social exclusion born out of prejudiced judgment, which affecting her social skill in making friends. The society did not understand Miss Sasagawara and belittled her behavior as mentally unstable. Those who witnessed her outbreak started to spread rumors and make their own speculation about her. Through the text, we can see the effect of imposed judgment on her as she became more withdrawn from the society and eventually developed a mental illness. The novice doctor couldn't detect the symptom because he was not fully qualified as a doctor, as the text verified. He was caught in the evacuation when he was only a few months to go on his degree. Mrs. Sasagawara's lack of societal acceptance caused her to be misery, and she succumbed to her mental illness with no hope of turning back. It was bad enough that she was suffering from the government discrimination, but being discriminated by her own race had taken a heavy toll on her. Until this point, nobody really knew the true personality of Miss Sasagawara. Miss Sasagawara finally saw hope in being accepted by society, but even that was short-lived as the prejudice against her still exists. Even though she already changed her behavior to fit in the society expectation, people were still suspicious of her. She tried to help the society by contributing her talents to teach young children to dance. Her true self was revealed a bit when the text described her apartment to be pretty, and she had a big suitcase of dancing costumes and lots of books to read. Yet, bad rumors were still heavily circulated in the camp that her effort only rewarded with a simple towel. Finally, Miss Sasagawara snapped and returned to her old self, drawn away from people as she continued to get neglected by the society and also by her own father. At the end, Kiku's curiosity about her finally answered when she came across Miss Sasagawara's poem. Miss Sasagawara revealed her struggle in life through the poem. It was an eloquent expression of the deep anguish Miss Sasagawara felt in being neglected by her own father, who is only preoccupied with attaining enlightenment. This fact will definitely change readers' perception towards Miss Sasagawara. As a conclusion, the short story was actually the author's reflection of her own experience in going through the Japanese-American settlement during World War II. She also managed to highlight the Japanese-American diaspora's desire to be accepted in America for their talents, instead of being justified to prejudice due to their differences. Yamamoto discreetly shows her ambition of being recognized as American by a citizen with rich talent as a writer, the same as the main character, Mrs. Sasagawara.
There are quite some numbers of characters to enliven the story. First, let's get to know the antagonists of the story. The antagonists in the story convey a society that are mean-spirited, gossip over Miss Sasagawara, and having attitude of creating ungenerous speculation about her state of mental health. This reflects the reality that reveals how prejudiced opinions are formed merely based on superficial differences before one even gets to know and understand the Asian American community. The main antagonists will be Kiku and Pierre Elsie, whose characters serve as mouthpieces. Elsie is Kiku's best friend that works together with Kiku at the mess hall as waitresses. Later in the story, Elsie became a nurse in the hospital, which is her dream job. She is displayed as someone who knows everything about Miss Sasagawara. This is because she is the one who delivered information of Miss Sasagawara to Kiku. Elsie has always been jealous of Miss Sasagawara. Next is Kiku. Kiku is the voice of narrator in this story. Kiku works as waitress in the mess hall with Elsie, which later as a relief receptionist in the hospital. One day, she got a permission letter to relocate to Philadelphia to attend college. Kiku has a deep interest towards Miss Sasagawara. Kiku is in a state of adoring but envying her. She loves Miss Sasagawara's figure that she hoped to have a body like hers in her late 30s and her exciting life as a ballerina. Now, let's move to the protagonist characters of the story. The character of Miss Sasagawara conveyed psychological pressures one gets in such situation. Her ways of reacting made the people think that she might suffer mental illness, that she is subjected to social alienation. Through these texts, Yamamoto conjures up a parallel between the treatment of Asian Americans and the treatment of Miss Sasagawara in the camp. Miss Sasagawara is 39 years old, but she has a young physical figure. Then, she is revealed to be a ballerina, but rumors had it says that she is temperamental simply because ballerina is said to be so. She became the central of attention because of her being different. She was accused as crazy and to be called mad woman by Mr. Sasaki because she attacked him who was trying to lend a helping hand. Being at the margin of the society, deep inside she wished to be accepted by the society. This is shown when Kiku and Elsie bump into her. She shows a hopeful and wistful desire to be friends with them, but was rejected almost immediately after Elsie's refusal to further interact with her. One day, she is acting sick at the hospital because she needs care and attention that she longs to get from her surroundings. Miss Sasagawara is helpless against the obstacle, which in this case constitutes social exclusion born out of prejudiced judgment. When her condition got worse, she was referred to Phoenix for better treatment and meditation. After she is back from Phoenix, she is a changed person that everyone awed by. She speaks to people around her and she opened a barrack class for the little girl in the camp, but society seems to refuse her being that way. The hope diminished when she was misunderstood by Mrs. Sasaki that she has sensual attraction towards young boys of Yoshinagas. In the following day, she was moved to California to a state institution after Joe's mother issued a letter to her father. Towards the end, Miss Sasagawara's news resurfaces when Kiku read a poem in a magazine and found out it was written by Miss Sasagawara. She was acknowledged as one of the earliest Asian American poets. After all, the society's criticism of and judgment against Miss Sasagawara seems as unfounded as those it ascribes to her. Move on to the sub-protagonist characters. Her father, Rev. Sasagawara, is a religious person, a reverend and a minister of Buddhist. It is said that he kept a small shrine in his apartment and performed the ritual there. He is physically aged and fragile. However, the discovery of the poem in the end of the text changes the perspective towards her father. It is an eloquent expression of deep anguish Miss Sasagawara felt in being neglected by her own father. Her father is inattentive to Miss Sasagawara's needs and interests because he is occupied with attaining enlightenment.
So, let us move on to the setting. The legend of Miss Sasagawara was set during World War II era in 1942 to 1945. Actually, it was at the end of World War II when they wanted to close the camp. Miss Sasagawara lived in Block 33 at Japanese internment camp in Arizona, Philadelphia. During World War II, the United States government began constructing military bases within the state in preparation for war. Multiple prisoners of war camps and Japanese internment camps were established across the state. Two of the largest camps were located in southern Arizona. The engineers who built the camps typically designed them in block arrangement, with each block containing 14 barracks, one mess hall, one recreation hall, one ironing room, one laundry room, and male and female latrines. Other structures included warehouse for food, workshop for vehicles and equipment, administration centers, schools, libraries, hospital, post office, and canteens. There were a few places in the camp highlighted in the story of the legend of Miss Sasagawara, such as the barracks where Miss Sasagawara and her family lived. They got a permission to move down to the Japanese internment camp in Arizona. When they moved to Arizona, they were going to stay with Rev. Sasagawara's brother's family, but they had some problems with them and they were not able to stay with them. So after that, they were located to stay at Block 30. Next was the latrine they all used in the barracks where Kiku first met Miss Sasagawara. The latrines in the camp were communal with no partitions and the showers had no stalls. Many of the Japanese American citizens had to sneak in during the night because of the low privacy. Most latrines were overflowed or broken, causing more problems for the Japanese American citizens. They also showed a mess hall as a place where all the people in the barracks had their meal. The mess hall was hung with red and green crepe pepper streamers and the greyish mistletoe. Kiku and Elsie worked as a waitress in the mess hall. And lastly, general ward in the hospital where Miss Sasagawara was put under observation and she tried to escape once from the hospital.
There are similarities that can be found in the story and in the Japanese evacuation report. The similarities can be seen at the camp, the hospital, and the mess hall. 1. The camp. Apartments were grouped in blocks. The space allocated for each couple was 10 feet 20 and each housing was limited to only sleeping and living needs. All the other needs were available at the mess halls and elsewhere within the camp. The blocks were only a cubicle because the rest had been partitioned off. Within each block, showers, lavatories and toilet facilities were provided. In a large measure, the apartment space was added through construction. The camp was situated in a desert, thus, the storms carry heat, dust and sand towards the camp. They only provided the necessities such as the army cots, pillows and blankets to the people there. This can be seen as there were two camps in Arizona, namely the Gila River War Relocation Center that housed 13,000 people and the Boston War Relocation Center that housed 18,000 people. The number of evacuees explained why the barracks had to be divided into smaller sections so that it could provide more room for the evacuees. 2. The hospital. Hospitals were developed in bigger centers with enough equipment and supplies. In the smaller centers, infirmaries were established. Sufficient beds and facilities were provided for the less serious patients. They include clinical services, a surgical room, a laboratory, a kitchen, necessary medicines, dressings, bandages, and other instruments needed. When Kiku told Elsie to move over to garbage duty, Elsie said that the hospital lacked of staffs, especially dental assistants and receptionists. In the report, dental equipments were provided with difficulty in hospitals. However, dental health services were provided as a part of the general health services. Besides that, optical services and immunization were also provided. In the pictures, it can be seen that the doctors at the time wore formal attires, not a bathrobe or a shirt, when attending the patients. The nurses wore their formal nurse attire as well. The employment of evacuees were done in the camps as a means of practicality. The employees were given supervision in managing the supplies and equipment. The canal was not described in the story, but we can see how it would look like in the 1940s. 3. The mess hall. The mess hall was the place where the evacuees ate with their family. It is described as big and spacious. This is a correlation that can be found in the Japanese report, where it was stated that the mess hall provided the necessities for the evacuees. Beverages, bread and butter, salads and desserts were served on the table. Meanwhile, hot dishes and entrees were served at the cafeteria counters. Besides that, it is stated in the report that the mess halls used the cafeteria and family service system, where it is a mixture of cafeteria and family dining. Food hygiene was emphasized at the time since it was a time of war. Food hygiene was significant that there were specific rules of food serving in the instructions given to the waitress. 1. To prevent food spoilage. 2. Control of bacteria. 3. Effects of heat, cold and light. 4. Control of insects and other pests. 5. Care of fish and meat and care of fresh fruit and vegetables.
There are several symbolisms that can be found in the story. Block 33 symbolizes the start of Miss Sasagawara's unlucky life. Block 33 is first stated in page 109, and this was where Miss Sasagawara and Mr. Sasagawara lived in the evacuation camp. The number 33 is considered as one of the unlucky numbers in the Buddhist teaching. Not only that, in the Japanese language, number 33 is pronounced as Sanju-san. And if the native speakers pronounce this number, it has a sound of sar-zang, which also means misfortune without way out. Number 33 is also considered as yakudoshi, which is the years of misfortune or calamity for women. Miss Sasagawara living in the block 33 symbolizes the start of her misfortune life. Kiku symbolizes Japanese American who are used to the lifestyle in the evacuation camp. Kiku is one of the characters in the legend of Miss Sasagawara, and interestingly, she is the narrator of the story. In the Japanese language, Kiku means chrysanthemum flower, and in the Japanese culture, chrysanthemum is an important flower as it represents the season of autumn and the country itself. Hence, Kiku represents the country, which is the whole Japanese Americans in the camp who are used to the horrendous lifestyle in the evacuation camp. Miss Sasagawara symbolizes a sane person. Miss Sasagawara used to live in a happy environment. However, she started to develop a mental illness after she got imprisoned in the evacuation camp due to the foreign lifestyle in the camp. The conditions in the camp are horrendous, yet it seemed normal in the eyes of the Japanese American like Kiku and Elsie. Hence, Miss Sasagawara, who is depicted as a crazy person, is actually the sane one who reacts to the environment around her. However, this horrendous life took Miss Sasagawara's sane away from her. Mr. Sasagawara symbolizes the American government. In the story, Mr. Sasagawara neglecting and oppressing Miss Sasagawara symbolizes how the American government oppressing the Japanese American and neglecting their needs.